Hi, good evening. If you are watching this webinar live, and good day to you if you're watching the recorded version on YouTube in some other part of the day. So thank you very much for choosing to spend this part of the day with us. My name is Venkatraman, and I am the Chief Running Evangelist of U2 Can Run. U2 Can Run, the mission of U2 Can Run is to promote running for good health. We do everything to promote running for good health. And we encourage non-runners, to sedentary individuals, couch potatoes, to take up running and run a 5 kilometer distance about 3 times a week. So that's our marquee program. It's called Sofa to 5K. The idea being that get somebody out of the sofa and make him run a 5K distance. Our marquee program is backed by a book which we published and released in January at the India Running Summit, which is an event that we hold. And this book is a beginner's handbook to take up running. Everything that you need to know about how to start running in very simple, easy language is there in the book. Don't be fooled by its size. It is a very, very critical and an important book for you to have if you're a non-runner. This is the book that any non-runner must give to his, any runner must give to his non-running friends. And we have this 2 series of webinars going. This series is called the Sofa to 5K series. And what we do is that basically we take every single part of the book, and in some cases every single paragraph of the book, and give you a much more in-depth knowledge about why something more in-depth than what can be written in the book, because the book is meant to be an easy to read style of writing, so that you don't get bogged down in technicalities. But this is a webinar. This webinar is where you get to know a lot more about the depth behind the content. We have been doing this. If you are online, then you can ask me questions. You can join me and you can chat with me. And on my left here, I have a monitor where I can see what you're typing. And if you're online, then you can type and I can reply back in live. If not, then we encourage you to post your questions as part of the discussion below this YouTube video. And we would most happily come and respond back to the question that you might have. Today's topic is about brain functioning, and we divide this topic into 5 key areas of brain functioning. The key areas are: we look at oxygenation, we look at concentration, we look at de-addiction, we look at cognitive decline, and we look at something called BDNF. And we'll go through all of this in greater detail point by point. So the first, the paragraph in the book reads, just as good running habit provides energy to the body by higher aerobic functioning, the same also supplies more oxygenated blood to the brain. This results in sharper mental faculty. Remember the old adage, healthy mind in a healthy body. That's what, there's 3 sentences in this paragraph. But let's do a more deeper dive and see. So the first thing that happens is that as you start running, your body develops more capillaries. And therefore, there are more capillaries even in your brain. And because there are more capillaries and because you're breathing in more oxygen and you're generally, more oxygenated, more oxygen goes to your brain, more blood goes to your brain and carries more oxygen, more glycogen goes to your brain, which is the sugar that is needed for your brain to keep functioning. So basically what is happening is that your brain is becoming a very, very fit organ. A Maruti 800 is becoming a, Swift 1600 or something like that. So basically for your brain health, at a very physiological level, at a very basic level, what happens is that your brain keeps getting more oxygen, more blood, more glycogen. It remains sharp. You don't get tired. You don't get bored. You don't need that coffee break. Whenever you feel you should go and have coffee, you are fresh as a daisy, even at 8 p.m. in the night, though you had a very, very tiring and a full day at work. So situations that might leave a sedentary individual exhausted will not leave you exhausted. The brain also, because of running, the brain also is able to concentrate better. Uh, Many of us who are sedentary individuals often do not meditate. We do not train the brain. After our academic learning is over in formal, whatever be it BCom, BA, CA, doctor, IIT, IM, whatever you studied, after that is over, very often the learning curve drops and your ability to concentrate on something and get something done, to really work out in what is known as a brain gym, starts diminishing. When you run for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever time it takes for you to do that 5 kilometer distance, you have to concentrate. Your mind is now on what you are doing, which is taking one step in front of you. As you start developing running, as you start concentrating, the ability of your brain to concentrate increases. So most of us are college workers, and we gather from some place, we concentrate and give a decision, and then we give an output. That is what we do, which is basically what we do most of the time in front of the computer. We have data, we have decisioning, we have output of the decision. So your ability to concentrate and your ability to take more correct decisions vastly increases. And your brain works better throughout the day, as we saw, but it also does qualitatively better work because it can concentrate far better than what it could have if it were not being exercised. Okay, so concentration improves. Many experiments have been done. One simple experiment that I always remember to quote is that a group of people were taken, say 10 people, and they were shown some 50 items on a table. Different objects: a pen, a pack of cards, a bulb, a tie, a cufflink, whatever. 50 things were put on the table, and they were all told to memorize. They were given 1 minute. They were all told to memorize, and then they were taken to a separate room and told to write on all the things that they could remember. So this was over. After this, they were all told to go on a stationary bike and exercise for 15 minutes or something, whatever that experiment was. So they all went and exercised on the bike. Very easy, very comfortable, nothing very hard. They exercised. So obviously their heart rate went up, their blood started pumping, more blood went to their brains, obviously. And after that 15 minutes was over, they toweled themselves. They came back to the table. And they were told, again, take a look at all these 50 items that are there on the table. Now go back outside again and write up. For everybody, improvement. I mean, it's a very simple experiment. You can do. Everybody had a marked improvement in his memory recall after the exercise. So, there can be nothing so simpler and easy to demonstrate about the beneficial effects to your brain power of exercise. This is very simple experiment. There are many, many complex experiments, but this is something simple that even you can do. You can do 10 things or 15 things on a table, try to look at it, go and do some exercise, come back and try to again remember it and see if your memory improves or doesn't improve. This happens because of oxygenation, more oxygen, more fuel into your body, and also your brain is slowly being trained to concentrate better. So those are the two beneficial effects of training. The third is de-addiction. Very complex science, the science of addiction, but the number of people who have stopped alcohol, cigarettes, even gutka, BD, whatever addictions are there, are numerous. For example, there's a girl called Vipa Sagar, and we'll put a link to that in the YouTube video and in this blog, who conducts a campaign throughout the country to stop smoking. So she goes everywhere and she, has this thing about, encouraging college students to stop smoking by taking up exercising. I know of many, many friends who have all stopped smoking because they started running. Okay, so what happens is that the brain releases good hormones and breaks the addiction neural networks that make you want that addiction, and slowly you start finding that you just don't need that cigarette as much as you did. So addictions become easier to break because your mental resilience is increasing. So that is about de-addiction, a very, very important point for many people. Sugar is an addiction, and I will be talking more about this later on. And many people who have started running have soon been able to give up the addiction to sugar, and therefore, it has benefited in so many ways, diabetes and many other things. The next one is cognitive decline. And as I said earlier, in that experiment, the memory improves. People start becoming forgetful. As they age, they start becoming, we all know this, we all become, this is a natural thing. But if you run, then your ability to understand something, to grasp a new situation, and to be able to remember that incident or that name or that phone number improves. And that improves if you are a regular exerciser. That experiment that we talked about, the people cycling, remember every day, is one more experiment which shows that your cognitive powers are better when you exercise regularly. And all this happens, and we are coming to the last point. All this happens because of a factor, a very talked about factor called BDNF. So BDNF stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So what this means is that we all know proteins, okay, and proteins are necessary to build things. And but when there are substances that behave like protein but are not actually amino acids, because the building block of protein are not actually amino acids, we call them factors. So this factor, BDNF, is what the brain produces when you exercise. Somebody who exercises has got a lot of BDNF. Somebody who doesn't exercise has got less BDNF. What does brain-derived neurotrophic factor do? It helps and it builds the connections in your brain. So there are many research studies, and basically we also know that the brain cells keep dying as you age. So as you age, the amount of brain cells that are there in the brain keep reducing, and because of this death of brain cells, you start becoming forgetful. Alzheimer's, dementia, all these are all different aspects of how this manifest. What BDNF does is that it helps you to form and to retain those memory cells. So what happens is that when memory, for example, is two connections, is synapse and a dendrite, two connections. And if you keep remembering, for example, I still remember my phone number of my clients. Okay, I still remember that because there are very strong connections that were made. Today I don't remember the phone number of my son because I don't need to remember it, it's all in the speed dial. So if I keep, for example, take a language. I learned Sanskrit, but today I don't remember much of it because I don't practice it. But if you learn French and you kept speaking French with somebody, then you would remember. So these connections which are there, which form memory, are enabled by synapses. And it has been discovered that when you take BDNF, and they have isolated this in the laboratory, and sprinkle it on these connections, then these connections become stronger. So your music becomes better, your vocabulary becomes better, you learn a different language. So anything, whatever you use these connections for, they become better, and your brain is much more healthier. And one of the key things that is being talked about and which is often attributed is BDNF, which is the factor that helps your brain to function very well. So those are the five major points of why the brain works better and why you have a healthier brain when you exercise. I will leave you, before I tell you my winding down, I'll leave you with one example. You are all read Archie's comics, okay? And in Archie's comics, there are two characters that particularly, fascinate me. One is Jilton. He's lean, he's scrawny, he's got big spectacles, and he's a geeky guy who remembers everything. And then there is Big Moose, okay? And Big Moose is exercises or whatever it is big and is brawn. And the favorite expression of Big Moose is duh, which is an expression of, not knowing or not understanding what is being asked. So why is a dull person shown as an obese person. Why did the creator of that cartoon do this? Why isn't a dull person shown as a lean and wiry person? That is because it is society has accepted that somebody who's obese and who is heavier also doesn't have a brain that is sharper. So this is something that is implicitly understood in the Zachi comics in the comparison between Dilton and Moose. So don't be a Moose, become a Dilton, exercise regularly. And thank you very much for being part of this webinar. I hope it was interesting. And we will have links to buy the book. This is a plug. And we will have links to buy the book, in the YouTube video and in the blog post. And if there are any viewers, I'm free to take the questions. And if you type them on the side, the chat window, then I can see them being typed and I can answer those questions. So we do have some viewers, but I'm not seeing any question popping up. So I'm assuming that there are no more questions. But that shouldn't deter you. You can still freely ask me questions in the blog post or in the YouTube video that will go live as soon as we finish this webinar. So thank you very much for spending the part of the day, and appreciate your time and effort. Thanks. Bye.